Good morning. Today I'm going to be reviewing the MMI turret. The turret is available from Kickstarter.com in two versions. On the left we have the date version and on the right we have the no date version respectively. There are also two movement options for the turret. One can either have the Seiko NH35A for $380 or alternatively the Sellita SW200-1 for $570 respectively. So I'm going to look at both pieces in this review. Firstly we'll look at the date version and then I'll look at the no date version. So the turret comes in a suede leather travel roll as an alternative to a watch box, and I think MMI deserve full credit for that because many collectors like to have a leather travel roll rather than a watch box. So the travel roll is secured by a strap which one wraps round. As you can see, there's a tag on the end. One unrolls the travel roll and inside there is a flap protecting the watches. 3-stitch compartments, so one can have up to 3 watches in the travel roll, and the interior is finished with an embossed MMI brand emblem. Very aesthetically pleasing, nice tan tone to the suede leather, and the stitching is absolutely flawless throughout. So I like it. I think it's a good alternative to using a plastic or cardboard watch box, which would be the alternative at this price point. So with regards to the turret, let's look at the date version first. The specification is as follows. 40mm case diameter, we have a 47mm lug-to-lug measurement, 13mm thickness, and we have a 22mm lug width, which complements the H-link bracelet. Now, the interesting thing to note about the turret is, although it's a 40mm case made from 316L grade stainless steel, it's an incredibly heavy piece. The heft of this piece is 188 grams, so I'm just going to put that into perspective for you. My Rolex Submariner date is also a 40mm case, but it weighs 159 grams. So at 188 grams, this is significantly heavier than most 40mm watches. And that's something to bear in mind. If you're not used to wearing watches with wrist presence and heft, you may find the 188 grams of heft to be too much and therefore uncomfortable to wear for long periods of time. However, you can opt for wearing the turret on a leather strap or alternatively a rubber tropic strap, which are options to the H-link bracelet, and they will significantly reduce the heft of the piece from its 188 gram maximum. With regards to the rest of the specification, it has a sapphire crystal with several layers of AR coating on the underside, and that does improve the legibility of the applied indices and the metallic sunburst finish to the dial. Baton style hands with pointers on the ends, they do complement the symmetry of those applied indices. I do like the dial layout. Now, one thing I really like about this piece is the use of the date complication in the centre of the dial. Usually date complications have a date window at the 3 o'clock position or alternatively the 6 o'clock position respectively. But MMI have opted to put the date wheel in the centre of the piece, and the date wheel is marked by a red marker which moves around, and as you can see there are dots for each of the months, the days of the month. Now it does take some getting used to because collectors have become accustomed to reading the date complication at 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock rather than the centre of the dial. But once you get accustomed to it, it is actually clearly legible and easy to read the date. And I like the fact that it doesn't obstruct the indices. Normally with watches, the 3 o'clock or the 6 o'clock index on the dial will be absent because of the date window being present. And I really like the fact that the date wheel in the centre of the piece means that the dial is unobstructed and therefore it retains the full symmetry. Also like the use of double indices at the 12 o'clock and also the 6 o'clock position, which add interest to the baton indices which are applied to the dial. Very well executed, clearly legible, and it does benefit from the AR coating on the underside of the sapphire crystal as I've discussed. Now, one of my favourite features of this piece is the use of the solid stainless steel coin edge finish bezel. It does give a tool watch and vintage aesthetic to the piece, and I also like the bezel insert in particular. Now, you could be forgiven for mistaking that the bezel insert is either made from aluminium or alternatively ceramic, which are the usual options. But I think due credit has to be given to MMI because they haven't used aluminium nor have they used ceramic. The bezel insert itself is actually made from stainless steel, which is quite unusual. Stainless steel is a harder material than aluminium and therefore more scratch resistant and durable, so a credible choice from the perspective of durability. And what they've done with this stainless steel bezel insert is it's ion coated with titanium nitride. So the titanium nitride layer of iron coating means that it's very aesthetically pleasing because it has a metallic tone to the bezel insert rather than the matte tone of ceramic, but it also makes the bezel insert incredibly hard and scratch resistant. It's a harder coating than anodized aluminium, which is the other option. So I really like the fact that the stainless steel is iron coated with titanium nitride, and I think MMI deserve full credit for opting for that rather than using the default options of aluminium or ceramic as I've discussed. Nice looking bezel insert, and also nice looking, well finished coin edge stainless steel bezel itself. The solid stainless steel crown is also coin edge finish, which complements the bezel. It provides an effective hermetic seal to 300 meters of water resistance, signed with a laser engraved MMI brand emblem, so it's good looking. The execution of the crown is outstanding. It's silky smooth with regards to the internal threading onto the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. So I'm absolutely confident in that 300 meter hermetic seal. And I also like the action. When one unscrews the crown and screws it back in, there's no problem with meshing the threads. It's really silky smooth. It's the kind of action one feels on a Rolex Submariner date, for example. I would say that the crown action is something that they've really paid attention to, and it's something I really like about it. The build quality, quality control, and the execution of it are outstanding, especially considering the price point of the piece. The finishing throughout is brushed satin finish on the top side, underside, and flanks of the case. One thing I like about the case in particular is the use of vertical brushing to the grain of the 316L grade stainless steel on the flanks rather than the more conventional mirror polishing. And it adds interest, but it also gives a nice tool watch aesthetic to the piece. The low profile coin edge bezel insert is slightly recessed into the case like a Seiko Samurai, and also the lugs have an angular profile rather like the Seiko Samurai too. And that adds interest. I think MMI deserve full credit for not just doing what most microbrands do and producing an homage to the Rolex Submariner date, because that is the default option. It's a popular design and therefore popular selling for a microbrand. This piece is completely unique. They haven't copied anything about it from Omega, Tudor or Rolex, for example. They've come up with their own case shape, bezel, and even the stainless steel bezel insert, which is titanium nitride coated, for example. I like the angular profile to the bevel, which is machined on the edges of the case. They mark the transition between the tops of the case and the flanks. Nice big bevel to those angles, mirror polished to a flawless finish, and they're very eye-catching. Also, on the inside of the lugs, we have another bevel which is machined, and that also adds interest to the tops of the case. So the case finishing is very nice. So it complements the brushed satin finish to the H-link bracelet, and again I think it's nice that they've chosen to use an H-link bracelet rather than an oyster style bracelet and simply copy Rolex. Now, one criticism I want to draw to the bracelet is the use of push pins rather than screw pins in the bracelet. This is subjective, and I understand that many collectors actually like push pins because it means that one can easily resize a bracelet using a bracelet resizing tool. Personally, I see it as a cost-cutting measure, and I think it's a real shame because it's the one main negative of this watch. I would prefer to see the H-link bracelet with screw pins because it's an indication of high quality. The 2-button push flip lock clasp is well executed, and it's signed with a laser engraved emblem, as you can see on the flip lock. Now, I like the action of it. Good positive click to the flip lock, nice firm resistance to the two pushers, and as one would expect, the interior is finished with a solid milled stainless steel clasp, solid end links which have quick release spring bars, which are always a nice touch, and I have to give credit to the brushed satin finish on the underside, top side and the flanks of the bracelet are done to a good standard. The screw down solid stainless steel case back is laser engraved with the MMI brand emblem. As you can see, it looks like a power button symbol. The specification is laser engraved to the circumference, and as you can see, this is the NH35 option, 300 meters of water resistance, very well executed. It provides an effective hermetic seal to 300 meters of water resistance, and I like it. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits an 8-inch wrist. Now, I have sized this bracelet. I've removed one full link from the H-link bracelet. There are 5 micro adjustments on the clasp. I've moved it into position 4 out of 5. So I've shortened the bracelet. And as you can see, even with shortening, it does fit my 8-inch wrist with no problem whatsoever. Personally, I like to wear my watches loose. I like to have an index finger of width underneath the strap and clasp, and that allows for wrist expansion underneath the bracelet, so bear that in mind. So if you have a larger wrist of 8 inches or more, the MMI turret is going to fit you with no problems whatsoever. Now, 47mm lug-to-lug measurement on those angular lugs means that it does fit very snug on the wrist. 13mm, so it's a relatively low profile piece, no Cyclops magnifier, so it's easily going to fit underneath the shirt cuff. Incredibly comfortable to wear for long periods of time despite the 188 grams of heft. So although it's a heavy piece, it's only 40mm with 13mm thickness, and therefore it does feel very comfortable. This blue dial version with a metallic finish to the dial and also the metallic finish to the stainless steel bezel inserts due to the titanium nitride layer is very aesthetically pleasing. It's my personal favourite version. There are several dial colour options for the turrets. I personally think that the blue dial is the best looking, but it's subjective and of course you'll want to choose your own. H-link bracelet, very aesthetically pleasing, and also the laser engraving of the signed flip-lock clasp is just very good looking. Comfortable piece to wear on the wrist despite the heft. So I'll also give you a wrist shot of the no date version, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the two movement options. As I've discussed, the turret is available in two movement options. One can either have a NH35A, which is a made in Japan Seiko movement, or one can either have the SW200-1, which is a Swiss made Sellita movement. With regards to the specifications of the two movements, the Seiko NH35A has 24 joules. It has a beats rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. 40-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable, and a stated accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds per day. Now, with regards to the SW200-1 option, that movement has 26 joules. It's effectively a clone of the ETA 2824-2, which has 25 joules. So the SW200-1 has an extra joule added to give it 26 joules. Runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz, which is the industry standard for an automatic movement. 38 hours of power reserve, and it has a stated accuracy of ±12 seconds to ±30 seconds per day. Now, these two versions that I'm looking at in the review are both Seiko NH35A powered versions, and I'm pleased to report that this no date version is running at +8 seconds and the date version is running at +5 seconds per day, which is very good, bearing in mind the price point of the piece. So this dial is fully loomed with BGW9 Super Luminova. The baton hands, the stick indices, and also the dial itself are all fully loomed with BGW9 and very aesthetically pleasing. Just slightly off-white, it's got a slightly cream tone to the dial due to the BGW9. Very aesthetically pleasing. I like the symmetry, and the absence of the date complication means that it's a perfectly symmetrical dial. I like the double indexes at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, and it really is just a very good looking piece. The finishing, the titanium nitride layer applied with the ion coating to the stainless steel bezel insert means that it has a more metallic finish to the black bezel insert rather than ceramic, so it's just a very good looking bezel insert. Again, the H-link bracelet does complement the angular profile of the lugs, which have that large bevel machine to them. So comfortable piece to wear, good looking piece, and it's subjective. It really does come down to whether you want the date complication version or the no date version, and it also comes down to whether you want the Seiko NH35A or the Sellita SW200-1. So let's do a Lume test of both pieces and we'll see how they perform when they're charged up to the absolute maximum. Now, I understand that MMI have decided to upgrade the Lume on this date version. This one uses a green tone of Lume which looks like C3, but they've decided to upgrade the Lume used to C1X1 Super Luminova, which really is the very best of white tone Super Luminova. So bear that in mind. This is a pre-production sample. The final production models are going to have upgraded Lume. C1X1 is a whiter tone than this C3 we're looking at here. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, the stainless steel bezel insert is fully lumed, as are the baton style hands and also the applied baton style indices. glowing brightly, but it's beginning to fade. So I'm pleased to say that they're going to upgrade it to C1X1 because that's something that needs to be done to make the Lume brighter and glow for a better length of time. So credit to MMI that they've addressed that shortcoming, and the production models are going to have better quality Lume. Let's do the same with the fully Lume dial version and we'll see how that compares. So as I've discussed, this one is fully lumed with BGW9. Personally, I regard BGW9 to be the very best of Superluminova. It's similar in quality to Seiko LumaBright or alternatively Rolex Chromalight Lume. BGW9 really is very good quality Lume in terms of the brightness and also the length of time that it glows for. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, the fully lumed dial is very aesthetically pleasing. It's also glowing brightly and continuing to glow for a good length of time. Stainless steel bezel inserts is fully lumed on the Arabic numerals and also the minute ticks, and as you can see, the baton style hands and applied baton indices also contrast well with the BGW9 fully lumed dial. So good looking, clearly legible, and it does suffice in functionality. One can clearly read the time in low light conditions. So I like it. Something to consider when you're weighing up whether to purchase the no date version or the date version respectively. Do you want the fully lumed dial or do you prefer the contrast of the applied indices? So another thing I want to talk about is the bezel action, which is another favourite aspect. Now, low profile coin edge bezel, coin edge finished stainless steel bezel, so I'm going to remove my glove because it's actually quite smooth and difficult to grip with a gloved hand. In case you're wondering, why do watch reviewers like myself wear white gloves? It's not to appear pretentious, which of course it does. It's for the simple reason it prevents fingerprints getting all over the watch, and also it helps the camera to focus on one's watch. So the gloves do serve a purpose. They're not just to appear pretentious, but the only problem with wearing gloves is sometimes it can be quite slippy to grip a low profile coin edge finished bezel like this. So I'm testing it out with my finger and thumb, and as you can see, good firm bezel action, nice firm resistant, rather like a Steinhardt Ocean 1 if you're familiar with that, or a Seiko SKX007. Minimal backplay, so the build quality control is good. And I'm just going to align the triangle with the 12 o'clock index. Perfect alignment. No quality control or build quality issues. The alignment on the bezel is perfect. 120 click unidirectional bezel as one would expect. And I'll just test out the no date version for comparison. Exactly the same bezel action, good firm resistance, 120 click unidirectional bezel. Nice loud clicks, I do like the sound of it. Also minimal backplay. And I'll just check the alignments. The triangle does indeed align at the 12 o'clock index perfectly. So the bezel action and the crown action on this watch are both well executed. I have no concerns with the build quality whatsoever. I think it's a credit to MMI that they haven't cut any corners on that. So lastly, I'll surmise the piece. Really, in order to weigh up this watch, I need to split it into two because there are two options. The no date and date versions are both very good quality. I would describe the value of the NH35A version at $380 to be okay. I can't say it's excellent because at $380 it is expensive, bearing in mind it uses push pins rather than screw pins in the bracelet, which is a negative. But however, considering the Sellita SW200-1 option at $570, yes, I do consider it to be excellent quality and excellent value. To get a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement like the Sellita SW200-1 in a microband piece for $570 is excellent quality and excellent value. I like the fact that it has some innovative features, such as the use of a stainless steel bezel insert, which is iron coated with titanium nitride, as I've discussed. And I like the fact that this isn't an homage to any other watch. It's not an homage to the Submariner date. The turret has a unique dial design to the case, the bezel, the dial layout, H-link bracelet. Every aspect of this watch is unique. They haven't copied other watch brands, and I think MMI deserve credit for coming up with their own piece. So yes, I consider the SW200-1 version to be excellent quality and excellent value. I would consider the NH35A version to be okay value but excellent quality. So I hope you've liked my review of the MMI turret. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.